And I'm Akira.
And you're watching
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation.
Brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
Hey yo, check this out, this is Flavor Flav, and if you want the whole truth, and nothing but the whole truth, so help the whole truth. Hey yo, you better listen to DONTAE, baby. DONTAE!
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another great edition of the DONTAE'S Boxing Nation show. I am your host, DONTAE, and we are back, and we got a good fight this week to talk about, guys. First things first, let me go ahead and introduce the panel as always. On the phone, I got my man, a.k.a. Rap King. Go ahead and check his YouTube channel out and go ahead and subscribe to his channel as well. Also, I got my man, Professor Niams from NC State. He's on here talking a whole lot of boxing, very knowledgeable boxing fan as well. And I got my man in the studio, my man Sean Zetail from the Boxing Voice. What's going on, Sean?
What's going on? Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get into it, guys. And I got my man in the studio as always on the ones and twos, my man George. What's going on, man?
I'm just sitting here having fun.
All right. That's better than what you said last week. You said you messing with the stuff.
I was messing with the stuff last week. Now I'm just having fun with it.
And the people in the comment section, they was like, he's messing with the stuff. What stuff he talking about? No. Anyway, man. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. First thing first, as always, man, I want to say thanks to all you guys supporting, buying the shirts. Once again, I'm going to have a new batch of shirts on the website, nationboxing.com. So we're going to have the hats and all of that. So if you guys want to show your love and show your support, that's a great way of doing it, is buying those shirts, okay? Or you could just donate, however you want to do it. It's all good, all right? Also, for you guys that keep asking, I'm still working on the documentary, #1 in the nation. You know, it takes a long time when you're doing a whole documentary on your own with not too much help. All right, so I'm not going to give you, a date that's going to be released, but I'm about 80% done right now. All right, so Sean, let's go ahead and start with you, man. We were just at the Arrivals today at the Wynn Casino, and go ahead and give me your impressions on the whole fight and how the day went. You got to ask Manny Pacquiao some questions, so just go ahead and give me your impressions on how today went.
Well, right after we spoke, we were in the ballroom where we were waiting right outside the doors where Manny was talking to newspaper media. And so I waited a good minute after and had to go into the bowels of the Wynn Hotel to get him.
Yeah,
but what made it good?
A lot of commotion, huh?
Yes,
it was a whole lot of commotion, man.
It was no joke to get him, but because I got him in the bowels in a quiet area, I think he was a little more candid with me than normal. So of course I asked him, why we know I've been told by Top Rank, I think you've been next to me when we've been told that Bob Arum and the matchmakers at Top Rank, they come to Manny and they give him 3 names, and Manny picks from those names. Apparently he's never brought Crawford up himself, or when he's been listed, he hasn't chosen him. So I say, we know you pick your opponents. Why did you pick Jesse Vargas to be an opponent? He said, because he's a champion. Fair enough. He's a champion. And you've been champion a million times, so why are you still fighting? Just because there's never been a senator that's been champion. But to get to the main part, I asked, well, if you beat him, will you fight Terrence Crawford? And he said, I don't pick my opponents, but sure, I'll fight anybody.
Which sounds like the translation is hell to the no. I ain't fighting no Terrence Crawford. That's what it sounds like. And good work on tracking them down, man, because we were there earlier today together, and I had to bounce because it was taking too long to get in that room and get them with all the media that was there. I had to set up for the show and everything, so it's good that you did get them.
A little side thing about Pacquiao real quick. When you see him on camera, he's a politician, so it's literally his job now to be a kind person. So you don't know if it's sincere or not, if it's fake. But when this is my first time really having a real moment with Manny Pacquiao one-on-one. He is a charming dude, man.
Oh, absolutely.
You could get why people like him so much.
Absolutely. When I first met him, I was like, wow. Yeah. Out of every boxer I've actually met, he was like the coolest one I've ever met. I remember he had already asked the first time I ever interviewed Manny Pacquiao, it was at the Bradley 2 fight. And you know, we were sitting there at the press conference. You know, they already did the press conference. He was nice enough to sit around and answer questions, you know, to the TV media, the you know, the internet media, and then he was about to leave. And right before he left, after he asked all these questions, I said, Manny, a lot of people would be like, I'm done by now. He turned around with this big ass smile.
That smile.
Like go ahead, shoot. And you like, man, this dude is a cool man.
That smile got you, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely, man. And that's why, Sean, you know, the whole thing is, that's why I try to tell people, you have to distinguish, you know, your personal feelings from talking boxing.
Absolutely.
Because I tell people all the time, you know, if I criticize or if we criticize Manny Pacquiao for who he fights and all that, that has nothing to do with him being a nice guy. He could be, you know, he could be the coolest guy to hang out, you know, compared to all of these fighters.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with what happens in the ring and vice versa. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
So, AK, let me go and ask you. You heard what Sean just said. Manny Pacquiao, he says he doesn't choose his opponents. Do you believe that, or what do you think, AK?
Well, if he don't choose his opponents, you already know who his next opponent going to be, because his promoter wants Terrence Crawford. Matter of fact, his promoter wanted Terrence Crawford for this fight.
Yeah.
But it's because Pacquiao didn't want it. That's why they didn't make the fight happen. You know, so at the end of the day, we all know he makes he picks his own fights. He's at that point of his career where he pick and choose, and he just doesn't want that work with Terrence Crawford. But honestly, you know, I don't know if Bob Arum trying to hype up the fight or whatever, but he's saying that Pacquiao is working from 9 to 7, and that's like 10 hours a day, and then working out. And that's kind of like that's a crazy schedule. You know, if you ask me, if you're preparing for a world champion fight, you know, versus Vargas, and then you're over here having a full-time job, that's kind of, I don't know if his mind is where it's supposed to be, you know. And so I feel like that might come into play. It might not, but just keep that in mind, you know, if Vargas, you know, pull out the upset, even though I don't think he would, but, you know, if there's no testing going on, you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Professor Nims, I mean, do you see a different Manny Pacquiao going into this fight? You see the same Manny Pacquiao? Because I truly believe, me personally, that was like the best Pacquiao against Bradley in his last fight. At least that fight and in the Algieri fight. You know, me and Sean, we were talking about this earlier. What do you think, Nim? Professor Nims?
Yeah. So, still not to be told. You know, he's a full-time senator now, and he kind of had a late. Well, he kind of came to the U.S. a little bit later than we kind of used to expected him. But Pacquiao, one thing I will say about him is that throughout his career, he's been able to excel within the midst of chaos. So I think everything he's usually able to handle that. I just really don't know how much hunger he really has to fight, you know, in a sense. Like, I know it is more of a, when he was fighting earlier, like, Pacquiao was really, because of his pride in his country and everything, he was, you know, fighting for his legacy and you know, his our nationality was, you know, kind of part of that. But, you know, now he's somebody he is altruistic. Like, he wants to help. He's out there kind of giving. So he feels that he's giving back, and he really, like, looks at this as a way to kind of get some money, you know, in a sense. I don't know. I think we've been slowly watching the decline of Manny Pacquiao, but that is somebody who is still probably better than, you know, 80% of
no doubt
the work weights up there.
Yeah,
he's just not going to beat, you know, that top, you know, 20%, you know, 20% out there. You know, when you got, you know, people like Crawford and
Keith Thurman,
you know,
the Errol Spence fighters at the welterweight division.
Errol Spence, yeah, he's not going to. You know, they're not going to, you know, take him near that person. But I think that Vargas is somebody who works hard, and he's really just not that talented. You know, I've seen him. I've seen him get some gift decisions. I think particularly when he might have been with who was that? maybe it was Top Rank or Floyd. I'm not sure, but
Used to be
he
with
has
Mayweather.
shown
When you fought that southpaw.
he has shown some improved power his last couple of
Yo,
fights.
talking about
But
Jesse,
as far as being an improved boxer necessarily, I don't think we can say that. You know, Tim Bradley, thoroughly pretty much outboxed him. He's somebody that just plies forward and not particularly that fast, and he's going to be banking on dipping his head down and throwing that overhand right and hoping to catch Pacquiao coming in. In that sense. So I think that's what he's kind of reduced to. If Pacquiao can use his footwork, I don't think he's going to have that much of a problem with Jesse Vargas, besides really just avoiding a couple of counter right hands. And if he's not aware of that after what happened with Marquez, then I don't know what to say.
Yeah. And Sean, we talked about this earlier, comparing styles, making fights and everything. We seen how Jesse Vargas, a lot of people, they're gauging how Jesse Vargas looked against Bradley, and they're saying, well, if he got outboxed, just like Professor Neum said, how is he going to have a chance against Pacquiao? But I was telling you that, styles make fights, and the whole thing is Tim Bradley, he has more of a rhythmic type of boxing style compared to Manny Pacquiao, who's more just raw athleticism, speed and power. So, I mean, how do you compare the two as opponents, and how should it play out?
I do think that stylistically, even though Pacquiao's a better fighter overall than Bradley, that maybe he plays into Vargas's hands a little bit more. Pacquiao does most of his damage from the outside, but he's not gonna really, like you said, old school box. Get up on his toes and use the jab and set up counter shots, and he boxes well from the outside because how fast he is, but he's not a traditional boxer. One thing with Jesse, I think for him to have a chance in this fight, he's got to be better than he was with Bradley. And
Absolutely.
He says he is, of course, but he's shown it a little bit. Also, his stamina really let him down in the Bradley fight. If he's tired halfway through the fight against Pacquiao, he has no chance. But apparently he's doing 6.5 miles of road work with Dewey Cooper now. I mean, I think Eric Morales was training Vargas. Morales, great fighter, but no training experience, no time to build up chemistry with Jesse Vargas. So you could possibly expect a slightly improved Jesse against Pacquiao than he did fight against Bradley. That he would have to. That's his only way he has a chance, is he would have to have gotten better as well. But Pacquiao has been a sucker for the right hand. Whether it's Marquez, Morales, Mayweather, or Bradley, all those guys are better than Vargas, but he does have a right hand. And a jab to go along with it to help him stay active when Pacquiao's on the outside. Ultimately, though, Vargas is probably going to get that look on his face that most guys get the first time they receive a combination from Pacquiao, which is, just wow. What is that speed from?
That left hand, getting by that left hand. And just to add to what you just said, I mean, sometimes Pacquiao, he could be a sucker for all different kind of punches. I mean, we've seen him open to the jab against opponents, open to the uppercuts when he goes into that high guard and just puts his head down. So he can be susceptible to a lot of different punches.
He can be hit.
Absolutely. Go ahead, AK.
Yeah, the only thing Pacquiao has to worry about in this fight, in my opinion, is the 1-2, because Vargas do have a good jab. Not just a good right hand. He has a really good, snappy jab, and, if he has the height and the reach, for against Pacquiao. So, but I feel like the jab going to be taken away with the left. He's going to counter him with the left, slip the jab, and counter with the left. So that's going to be taken away. Just the right hand might land and might not. I feel like this, y'all probably don't agree, but if Vargas is clean, he's going to get knocked out. If Vargas is on some shit, he ain't going to get knocked out. Because I'm telling you, why would you turn down a test? With Professor Saddam Ali, he turned down the VAR testing. If you're clean, why not take the test? And
wait.
I was informed.
Wait, who you said turned down the test?
Vargas in the Saddam Ali.
I didn't know that.
Turned down the VAR test.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I mean, I've seen the memes and stuff like that, but I didn't know that he turned down a test. That's pretty deep.
Yeah, Yeah, he turned
That's
down
interesting.
the test because I talked to Saddam Ali and he told me that he turned down the test and with another thing, I think his strength and conditioning coach is the same one as Marquez. And we hear the stories about the steroids and the acting behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
We see that on Vargas too.
Mm-hmm.
And he moved up the weight and kind of got ripped and stuff. All I'm saying is if there's no testing for this fight, expect the unexpected. But if there's a test, which I haven't heard of any testing going on. I haven't even heard of Nevada testing. But if there is, I hope there's testing. But I'm pretty sure there's no Nevada testing.
Do you know if there's been any testing for this fight?
Not that I know of.
I didn't hear about any testing.
No.
That's interesting. Has Jesse Vargas ever been hurt before?
Have what?
I've never.
Has Jesse Vargas ever been hurt before? I don't recall him ever being hurt.
Hurt? Oh, hurt. I
Yeah.
mean,
Not
I'm
seriously.
in a way.
Yeah, like I haven't necessarily seen him kind of like rocked and on Queer Street.
Queer Street, yeah.
He's been in some tough fights just because he's got a modicum of talent, so he can kind of make it through, and he's kind of got these good decisions. So he has some wear and tear on him, but I've never really seen him rock necessarily.
It's kind of something interesting I think about Vargas is I wonder how this will play out on fight night. Is he seems to have convinced himself that I didn't really lose against Bradley, and what that may have done is it keeps his confidence as if he's an undefeated fighter. But he may have lied to himself about some of the real reasons he lost that fight. And you got to wonder if when Pacquiao hits him, if Pacquiao is ahead in the fight, those thoughts creep in of this is why I really lost.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose again.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of deep side note, but
No, it could psychologically affect him, no
Right.
doubt about it. I mean, I've always wondered. I mean, how boxing is. A fight goes to the decision. 9 times out of 10, the fighter who loses, what does he always say?
I won the fight.
I won the fight.
Right.
So I mean, I always wondered. Did Jesse Vargas, did he really feel deep down?
Right.
I won that fight because of the 8 seconds and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we really don't know. But one thing I will say about Jesse, I really commend, him for the confidence that he has, been willing to fight anyone going into this fight. I mean, he told me that even before getting this fight, he said he was one of the rare people that said, if I can't get Pacquiao, I want Keith Thurman.
Right.
Right. He's been calling
Brook.
out. Yeah, Kell Brook.
Yeah.
He was supposed to fight. It was Kell Brook that pulled out of that
Right.
fight. So he's been willing to fight all of these guys. And Sean, sometimes I wonder if the backlash that this fight received, and it wasn't directed towards Jesse, it was directed towards Pacquiao because people wanted to see Pacquiao versus Terrence Crawford.
Right.
Arum had been promoting that fight as next, and he wanted to make it. But because of that, Jesse looked at it as backlash, like nobody wanted to see him in the ring. Do you think that motivation is going to psychologically give him a boost?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does. He's got a chip on his shoulder. There's no doubt about it. And that's why there's intangibles that make you take a harder look at the fight than if Pacquiao was fighting, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It didn't matter if Jesse and his uncle and his father were in the ring. But now that Jesse's 38, or excuse me, Pacquiao is 38, and things like that he has, and the fact that he is hungry and has that chip on his shoulder, like we said, and you got to question Pacquiao's hunger and work rate in the last couple fights. He still looks fast and explosive, but when he does throw the punches, I'm talking more really about the last Bradley fight because, you and a lot of people say he looked great in that fight, Pacquiao, and I think he looked like Pacquiao when he actually did something, and a lot of that I'm sure was Bradley keeping him cautious because Bradley was boxing so well himself, but if he throws as little of punches as he did, I think he was below 500 punches against Bradley, Vargas could take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But you would expect him to open up more against a lesser defensive fighter.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
You beat me to it. He's always going to throw less punches against a thinker when it's a
Right.
chess match because you throw the wrong punch, you could easily make a mistake and get countered. So,
But
you see the punches he threw in the Marquez fights, so and the Mayweather fight.
But I do want to kind of go out on a limb and say at some point in the fight, win or lose, and I am picking Pacquiao, I'm sure like just about everybody, But I think Vargas at some point is going to land that right hand.
Oh yeah.
And at the least,
he may win. He may win a lot of the early rounds, perhaps.
Right.
I mean,
so I think at some point he hits him with a real solid right hand that does something. Maybe it doesn't have Pacquiao on Queer Street, but it'll get his attention. So I look forward to that moment.
Yeah, and him trying to imitate or replicate that Marquez counter right hand. What was it? Pacquiao, he does the stutter step, come in with the jab. Marquez, he pulls back and times that stutter step with a perfect right hand counter. Algieri actually pulled it off, but he had no power when he did it. I don't know if you noticed that.
Right.
Algieri, he did it to a T. He took the step back, he caught him, and it stunned Pacquiao for a quick second, but Pacquiao went back to work.
But you can't fall in love with it.
Floyd was trying to. Yeah, you can't fall. You can't focus mainly on that.
Because that's what Bradley did at times in their second fight when he hit him with the right hand that picked him off his feet. Is falling in love with that shot a little too much after you see that Marquez knockout.
Yeah, because it's very rare to get a hole in one again. In the same exact spot.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but the thing about it, you have to catch him coming in because that's how you get more impact. Like if Pacquiao coming in, that's when you get like the way Marquez caught him. He knocked him down in the third round with a good right hand, but Pacquiao got up pretty. He got a good chin. He got up pretty good. But when you run into a shot like that and your legs in the air and your hands flying like Superman, and you get caught with the right hand, it's over. No matter who you are.
No matter who you are.
And so I mean, I feel like if Vargas, his game plan should be use the jab, distract him with the jab, and make him come in and catch him with the right hand. That's his only. I can't see him outwork him or outbox him for 12 rounds. But other than that, like I said, that's just his chances are slim and none.
Yeah, and Professor Neums, the thing is, I believe a lot of people, they're looking at this fight as Manny Pacquiao, he chose Jesse Vargas because he obviously felt that he was the easiest, opponent out there, compared to
that
Terrence
still had
Crawford.
Legitimacy.
Absolutely. They still had a belt, But with that being said, do you believe that a lot of fans are pulling for Jesse Vargas, looking at it from the perspective of karma, basically, they're hoping that Jesse Vargas wins just because they think that Manny Pacquiao, he tried to take an easy fight. What do you think about that, Professor?
Well, if there may be some fans who say that, but they're probably really strong Team Mayweathers in the sense that I think it's Manny is one of those people that he's kind of hard to root against necessarily, like in the sense like if you have a fighter that is your fighter, you're doing it, but because he is just simply he seems like a genuinely nice guy, and he's been kind of when he was tripping over his words, and I ain't even gonna say tripping over his words. That's when he just kind of made blatant statements against homosexuals and stuff like that. He seems to be, even though really naive in a sense, but he seems to be genuinely like a good guy. So to me, I think that I think Aaron plays coy a lot. In a sense, like I'm not sure how much power Pacquiao has. I know that who's his right hand guy, Khan.
Michael Kahn.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His advisor and
his advisor. He seems to have a lot of influence on Pacquiao. Also, this was a strategic move in the sense that they were going to lessen the threat, as much as they could while still being a legit fight. He's still a world champion. He's doing that, but he's still pretty limited in a sense, while still maintaining that earning power in a sense. But I think it's still gonna struggle just overall as a production. And it's not just because of HBO declining to do the show, but I think it's still a little bit of Mayweather Pacquiao fatigue, from in their sense.
The one
Go
thing,
ahead, though.
No. The one thing I will say is, first of all, to respond to when you said, it could be Mayweather fans. Honestly, you could also say it could be Crawford fans. It could be any type of fans. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that you don't have to be a certain fan of a fighter just to want to see the best fights. So
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So with that being said, I truly believe, just a lot of people, they wanted to see that fight. I mean, when it comes to, and another thing too is we got to stop making it seem like this Mayweather fan versus Pacquiao fans is like Bloods and Crips, because believe it or not, you have a lot of Mayweather fans that are big Pacquiao fans, and vice versa. I talk to them all the time. I talk to a lot of Filipinos straight from the Philippines. They praise, because if you're a real boxing fan, if you're a real boxing fan, you're going to praise skill. You're going to praise accomplishments. Exactly. So I've talked to a lot of Filipino fans straight from the Philippines.
Go ahead. When you were talking about that, like, that describes me like I'm a Mayweather, like, you know what I'm saying, it's straight up, but like but I'm like, you know what I'm saying, like I like Pacquiao, but this is what I think people would do instead of kind of like rooting, against that, because I'm pissed off, in a sense, because I don't necessarily want to see this fight. Like, that's why I think it's no longer about legacy. Like, Pacquiao wanted the biggest challenges, at first, and this is him not doing that. So it's a money grab, and I think what people, instead of just kind of rooting for the other guy, I think they're going to be apathetic in the sense and not tune in. So that's why I think
it's definitely going to be a little bit of that, no doubt.
It's going to hurt them. So I think, necessarily so, but I think the pressure's on Pacquiao. For one, he has to have, I don't think he can just kind of win. I think he has to have that kind of performance that is going to remind us of his greatness. He's obviously, well, I'm not going to say, obviously, but he is trying to position himself, for a bigger fight. Like this fight, he's not coming out for this.
Yeah.
He's trying to put himself in there. And to be able to do that, he's got to do something that's going to captivate the audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well,
AK,
Dante, didn't you say that Pacquiao or somebody, I don't know, I was talking to you earlier this week, and you told me somebody said that this is Pacquiao's last fight. I don't know if you said Pacquiao said it or Bob Arum said it.
I don't know if you've seen that article, Sean. But
Yeah,
it was an article where he said Pacquiao said he didn't know if he was going to continue to fighting after the Jesse Vargas fight.
When you're this old, that's fair enough. You could fight at this age and not feel right at fight night, and then afterwards go back to the locker room and go, it's time to hang it up. So I mean, that could be him. And
then take a couple months off and say, forget that, I'm ready to come back.
Right.
Like this is the same person who just retired about 6 months ago, but. You want to do that because that gets people to tune in. Like, why do you think they advertise it as it's going to be his last fight?
You
better see it. You better see it. You better. So if you put it out there, hey, you might not see me again.
But I feel like he did that also kind of to avoid the Crawford questions and the tougher questions, like fighting the other welterweight champions, because that's a nice way to, we talked about this on the last show, he's just using that kind of to get out of the big fights. And don't be surprised, man, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all, Pacquiao next opponent is probably Amir Khan. Somebody who's not too hard, but it's beatable, and it's a good name. That's probably Pacquiao next fight, Amir Khan.
I disagree there. I think if he's going to fight another fight after Vargas, which he probably will, I think we're going to get a real fight. I think there's a solid chance we do get Crawford. I think it was AK earlier who said that if it was up to Arum, he probably would be fighting Crawford. But now Arum's thrown everybody a curveball and talking about Lomachenko at 140.
Loma already dismissed those because because he basically just said that it would have to be a year before he could even go up to 135.
Put the money in front of him,
Yeah.
and then see if he says that.
Yeah, yeah.
Put the money in front of him, and then see if he says that.
It sounded to me though like he was a little uncomfortable. He just moved up to 130,
right?
You know, and now
and he got Walters on his hands.
Yeah. He got to get past Walters, and that's not an easy fight. And we got to talk about that
I just brought that up because it's like, what the hell is Bob trying to do there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is he just trying to big up one of his young guys, trying to get his name out there more by just mentioning him with Pacquiao?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Bob Arum, he was just talking about fights that he, his dream matches that he would like to, put together. And I think that's really what it comes down to. But hey,
does Bob want Crawford Pacquiao? I mean, because we would all think he does.
Bob wants it. He has to pass the torch.
Of course, I know it makes sense, but
it's the end of Manny Pacquiao's career. He's close to the end. He needs another superstar. The next fighter that beats Manny Pacquiao is going to be a star. I mean, it's no guarantee they're going to be as big as Pacquiao, but they're going to be a star if you beat Manny Pacquiao with no controversy.
If it was up to Bob,
they're going to need to
Jesse
pay Pacquiao to fight for him.
What's up? What's that?
I said they're going to need to pay Pacquiao a lot of money to get in the ring with
Terrence.
Because,
but you could tell. You could tell Terrence would probably take whatever. You could kind of tell Terrence would take whatever to get that fight.
Yeah.
I know Papa will take whatever, but Pacquiao is going to take
a zillion
forever to fight him.
Yeah,
I mean,
he doesn't.
Since Bradley too, who Pacquiao has fought? I mean, other than Floyd, because that was like the biggest money grab ever. But I mean, other than Floyd Mayweather, who have you fought since Bradley too? Algieri, Bradley again, and then
Rio.
Yeah,
he's always picked the lesser of competition when he had options on the table.
True, and fighters, most of them were either coming off losses or not an impressive performance. So, I mean, I just don't see him fighting Crawford. I mean, I would give him all the credit in the world, win or lose. It doesn't matter to me, but as long as he takes the fight. But at the end of the day, I just don't see him doing it. And they're already talking about him versus Lomachenko. It's like, man, fighters need to stop with moving like two-way divisions. Yeah, let's say at your division, be the best fighters at your division. Let's try to be great. You don't do that unless you are Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard. You already cleaned out your division, have nothing left to do, and you just want to move up and wait to prove you're great, not just for the fuck of it.
Yeah, that's extremely premature. Just even talking about Lomachenko, it sounds good, but it's premature. This is the question that I would love to ask Manny Pacquiao. Since he said that Floyd Mayweather doesn't care about the fans, I always want to ask Manny Pacquiao, the fans want to see you fight Terrence Crawford. So are you willing to fight Terrence Crawford for the fans? Now, you can't answer that. You can't answer that by saying, well, it's up to my promoter. Like you just said, AK, we already know the promoter wants the Crawford fight. So you can't say, I don't pick my fights, because if that was the case, we would have got that fight. On numerous occasions, we've seen Manny Pacquiao disagree with Bob Arum on opponent selection, and he ended up choosing his own opponent, We
saw him in person make the fight at the Miami Heat game with Floyd.
Yeah.
We didn't say
with no Bob Arum. Yeah.
So
absolutely, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's so we know. I mean, we know when 9 times out of 10, maybe 99% of the time, when a fighter says it's up to my promoter, I don't choose my fights. That's saying they're not interested. It's a deflection. Yeah. They're saying they're not interested in the fight. They don't want to fight that guy in particular.
I'm just saying that if he's going to fight one more time, it's going to be that much. Maybe I'm wrong, though, but it's going to be that much harder to find another opponent. Kind of top ranks. I mean, who else the top rank got? Besides, this Vargas fight has been dangled in front of Vargas for a few years, so we kind of knew this fight was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
But
there's no one else, but now Bob is working with Al Heyman now. No,
right.
So that opens up.
Well, then who's he gonna fight? Keith. Either way, he's got hell on his hands, so he might as well just fight Crawford at 140 if that's gonna be the case. But I'm saying if he beats, especially if he looks good, if he fights again, I think it'll be against Crawford. I know that's me being half hopeful. With
I hope so. That's what the fans want to see. And
Dante, I got some breaking news. I just I'm just reading this right now. It says Kell Brook, he got his eyes on the winner of the Pacquiao-Vargas fight. Like,
wow.
dude, then you said, like, you're not going to come back to 147? Like,
Wow.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Wait, yeah, I thought you could
Hey.
go 47. Yeah.
And
Right.
and for all the people that got upset when I did a poll and I said, do you think Kell Brook is going to fight Errol Spence, vacate or prolong, et cetera, you know, people got upset and they said, come on, Dante, you know he's going to fight Errol Spence. But what have we noticed? Since the Golovkin fight, what have we noticed? After the Golovkin fight, he called out Canelo. Then he talked about fighting Amir Khan. Now you just said right now that he wants the winner. So we know clearly he wants no parts of Errol Spence. Now don't get me wrong, Kell Brook against Pacquiao would be a fantastic fight, you know, but let's just be real about the fact that he wants no parts of Errol Spence, and he's making it very clear. I mean,
Yeah, and that's mandatory, right?
yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
mandatory. Yeah,
That's what we're talking about.
yeah.
And that's the thing, like, I mean, how many people and then, as you know, some of the journalists are giving passes, like, how many times can we give people passes for avoiding that name, Earl Spence?
Yeah.
You know, in a sense, and it's because, like, well, he hasn't fought anybody. Well, he has to fight somebody to be able to say
prove
that
himself.
he fought somebody.
Uh-huh.
Right? If you keep on saying that, right, it's like
well, yeah, I mean, you got Danny Garcia. You know, they say, oh, well, Errol Spence hasn't fought nobody. But you're fighting the guy who Errol Spence knocked out, you know,
Yeah,
2
which
years ago.
which
So
is a
if that
huge
dude earned
contradiction.
if
Right.
that dude earned a shot
But it's
to
supposed to
fight
be a
you,
tune-up.
I'm pretty
That's
sure
true.
the guy
That
who
is
knocked him
true.
out, Errol Spence, deserved even a bigger shot to fight you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't fight these big names. Yeah, everybody keeps saying, oh, well, he hasn't fought this huge name.
Right.
Well, a huge name has to
Step in
stop
the ring.
ducking him and fight him first.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day, you got Kell Brook. I mean, he don't even want to be. It's kind of like Rigondeaux's situation right now, you know, at 147. You know, he moving up in weight to avoid Errol Spence. And then you got Keith Thurman. You know, he looked like he's the one who's going to fight him in the long run, really. You know, next year he probably fight him at the
Well,
end of the
it's
year.
pretty much official now.
You know,
Yeah,
Spence
I
is...
mean,
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Thurman against Garcia. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm talking about Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence.
Oh,
maybe, you know,
okay,
in the
okay.
future. It looked like he might be the only one who'll probably step up, but he also keeps saying, yeah, you know, he's not ready yet. He's where I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, Porter, he don't got no title shot. He don't want no part of Errol Spence. I mean, all these fighters just don't want no part of Errol Spence, and, you know,
well, like
say,
Porter's dad won't let him go near Errol Spence. You know, I don't.
Yeah, Sean will fight anybody. Yeah.
I don't think he has a say.
Let me just say this before I forget, because like Sean just said right now, we do have to keep in mind this is a tune-up fight for Danny Garcia to fight Keith Thurman.
Right.
But what I would say is, if I was Danny Garcia, I think his approach should have been similar to Keith Thurman's approach, because Keith Thurman, he said he gave the boy props. He gave Errol Spence props, and he's like, look, I'm not saying I'm not going to fight him, but let's just build that fight up, because that could be huge. But when the mistake that Danny Garcia made is when he said, you know, this dude is not on my level, you know, he's not ready for me. And then when you fight someone that Errol Spence already knocked out, that's when it looks bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if he would have just put it in the proper context, it wouldn't have looked as bad, you know?
Exactly. You can
it's like
respect. You can respect where Keith Thurman come from, like the way he
Exactly.
talks. You know what I'm saying? He
Definitely.
wants to build the fight up. You can respect that. Yeah. But when Danny Garcia says, "Oh, he's not on my level. He ain't fought nobody," you're trying to discredit the guy, but you over here ducking him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if he ain't nothing,
you can't do
say knock
both.
him out.
Yeah.
If
Give him his
ain't nothing,
credit. If you don't want to fight him, give him his credit. But then go ahead and avoid him. Because people respect that more when you've been honest and sincere.
Well, with Spence, it's kind of like, to me, similar to the Triple G situation, in that everybody thinks he very well may be the best fighter in his division, but nobody wants to fight him. So we give him the credit of that, of, okay, we know you passed the eye test, you're really good, and we know nobody wants to fight you, so we can't blame you for the lack of great opponents on your record, but at the same time, we can't overstep it and give them too much credit for, because guys not getting in the ring with you is still not the same thing as getting in the ring and actually beating them.
Oh, no
So,
doubt about
know.
it. But the difference, though, from Golovkin is Errol Spence, he's willing to fight all of these guys. You know what I mean? I mean, when it comes to Golovkin, there are some people that are hesitant to get in the ring with him.
Yeah.
You know,
in his division, Golovkin will fight anybody.
Yeah. What's that?
In his division, Triple G will fight anybody. Once he don't want to fight at 68, but at 60, I think he.
Well, I mean, you still have. You beat me to it. You beat me to it. It's Edeslani Lara. I think Golovkin. He doesn't feel comfortable fighting guys that has amateur pedigree similar to his.
Right.
Because you look at Andre Ward, gold medalist, James DeGale, gold medalist. Edeslani Lara, Cuban pedigree, So if you're willing to fight Kell Brook, who moved up from welterweight to middleweight, why wouldn't you be willing to fight Lara, moving up from junior middleweight? So I mean,
I would prefer to see Triple G against Lara than a lot of the guys he's fought.
Of course,
right? But
I mean, imagine if Golovkin could knock out Lara. You know how big that would be?
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? That would be huge. Canelo could knock out. Canelo didn't even come close to knocking out Lara.
That's really right, because you got the Canelo thing,
but
right?
If you look at Lara's fight against the Pitbull,
Angulo.
Angulo.
Angulo against. I mean, that to me is like, I think you can see some of that. That's you talking about somebody who's way better for it. I actually think he would knock him out, but. I mean, but those points are true. But like one of the things that I want to kind of step back to, and I want to say, and I think one of the reasons why all of us on here have respect for Keith Thurman, because he is one of the few boxers out there who has integrity. Because all the other boxers, like Danny Garcia, he has no, when he goes out there and he makes those excuses and talks about he's not on my level, and then you kind of fight. But we've seen this. Like I don't even want to kind of we've seen the type of fighters that they put in the ring with Garcia, and even with some of the stuff that Pacquiao saying. But somebody, and we know that, and that's why we kind of feel, and A-Ryan was talking about it earlier, that at some point he's gonna fight, and this is because Thurman has that heart. Like he'll take those big risks because he knows that those are, and he because he wants to be great. He's that type of person that wants to kind of grab that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You have to respect that. You have to respect that.
Absolutely. I mean, it reminds me of these kids that I see at these tournaments, man, these national tournaments. Winning these tournaments means everything to these kids. And you see some fighters like that today. I feel like you said, Keith Thurman is one of those fighters. He just wants to prove he's the best, no matter what it takes, and it's not too many fighters that's like that today. But real quick, because I want to try to touch on some of the undercard, but I want to ask before we jump off the Pacquiao situation, I want to play The Price is Right real quick when it comes to pay-per-view numbers. Now, Bob Arum, he said, and I don't know if I agree with this, but Bob Arum, he said these numbers are going to be better numbers than Bradley because now Pacquiao is fighting against a Mexican fighter. But I don't know if that's true because when Pacquiao fought against Brandon Rios, those were not good numbers, So I mean, what were the Bradley numbers again? They weren't like
around 400,000.
Around 400,000. So
yeah.
So let's start with
Which
you.
Which ain't bad.
No, that's what I'm saying.
A lot of guys would kill to do 400,000.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's bad for Pacquiao.
It's bad for Pacquiao. I mean, it's not really that bad if you're not Mayweather either,
Right.
But my thing is, do you think, Sean, I'm going to ask all you guys this, but do you think Pacquiao-Vargas does better numbers than Pacquiao-Bradley 3? That's a tough one, huh?
Yeah, you can go first because I honestly don't know.
You got to think about that one, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think he's going to do around 300 or less. I mean, it's between that range. I just don't see it doing more than 350 or 400 because I mean, this fight just not been promoted, right? You could have probably fooled the casual fans more.
Good point. Yeah.
But it's the fact that it was not promoted. And I'm a boxing fan, a huge boxing fan, and I forgot this fight was coming up. So, I mean, and y'all had to remind me. So I feel like this fight ain't gonna do too well. 300 or 300, around that range.
It's a shame that the climate boxing's in now that this wasn't on HBO pay-per-view because for years HBO would do pay-per-views 2 weeks apart. For years, always in the same month. And I
the budget cuts because they can't afford to do two pay-per-views in 1 month.
But I don't know. Part of their reasoning too was they felt like it'll take away from the Kovalev Ward buy rate. But I feel like
that's true.
Sometimes it can have a good effect that if Pacquiao-Vargas is a good fight, all the people that bought the fight are gonna have like boxing fever, and they're gonna want that fix again 2 weeks later. So especially if Vargas wins, well, I know probably all of us are picking Pacquiao, but if Vargas wins, HBO is gonna be kicking themselves because now there's a new 27-year-old star.
Yeah, absolutely. And my man Professor Nims, what do you think about the pay-per-view numbers? Real quick, we're down to 5 minutes, guys. What do you think about?
Yeah, man. I'll say it quickly. I think that Bob Arum really kind of, like not even fumble, just kind of like handled this. He had no kind of like all access kind of show or nothing that I know about, and people don't understand like how much that really brings them in, kind of like let them know like we could really learn about Vargas, and then you would have people who would want to cheer for him and like do that, but people do not know about Vargas,
right?
And like I don't even like he just I don't even think he resonates that much with the Mexican, or even the Mexican population, because he's not there. He's just not. He's like a really kind of basic kind of fighter. So, and he's just there. Like I'm saying, he's a good professional fighter, but he's not anybody who's going to light the world on fire. And the way that they promoted this, and they're going at I say that there's no way that it approaches 500,000.
Oh no!
I'm thinking between 350 and 400. I just really can't see it doing better with something that's on a Showtime promotion, and with Bradley, who people know who Bradley is. He's almost kind of like a casual boxing name. Vargas, people have trouble distinguishing between which Vargas we're talking about. So that's gonna be
And I want to get your thoughts real quick about the fight last week where the trainer fought Lopez almost, and
Juanma Lopez versus Rafael Vasquez, and he was
dodging the punches too. He
got cracked. Did you see that, bro?
Yeah, so why was he cocking the punch back so long? He was taking so long to let his. I think he thought the dude he was walking up on didn't have any skills like that, so he could just load up on one and just.
You just don't expect you don't expect.
While he was loading up, he got caught though.
Man, he caught him with like three clean ones.
Yeah,
man, and it just makes you feel so bad. You feel sorry for Juanma, man, to get clocked like that on camera.
How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, big time, man.
I'm telling you, at that moment.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty. It was like that was the first punch. It kind of reminded me of Mayweather.
Judah.
Yes, Judah. But nobody was really connecting though, and that's the difference over here. I think maybe one person got hit, in that whole tobacco. But in this situation,
Roger got choked out.
Yeah. But in this situation, I've never seen somebody get hit with a 2 or a 3-piece.
Right.
The professional boxer.
Right.
And almost got knocked out.
Remember Galata with the bow thing? He got socked up by one of those people. He got socked up twice.
I remember that, but I didn't know he got socked. I didn't know he got caught.
That was a knockdown. He got saved by the rope.
Yeah, he got saved by the rope. Yeah, he had a standing 8.
And the amateurs that be a standing 8.
Yeah, sure. Okay, guys. We down to a couple minutes. I want to just really touch on the undercard just real quick. So Nonito Donaire versus Jesse Magdaleno. I feel that's really what makes this card. That is a really good co-main event right there.
Action fight.
Yeah. I grew up. I grew up when I first came out here to Vegas. That was the first gym that we trained. Sean
Barry's boxing.
Sean, you actually sparred with his brother Diego.
Yes, I sparred with both of them. Yeah.
Oh, you sparred with both of them. So. Yeah, and my son used to do some little play sparring in there with Jesse, but we watched him, before he even turned pro. Over there at Barry's Boxing.
He was one of the best in the world.
Oh yeah, he beat Rashid Warren.
He beat. The story is when he was 14, he gave Rocky Juarez a beating in sparring while Juarez was training for Barrera.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. He has a slickness. You know, I mean, to me, he has a little bit of shades of Floyd Mayweather in him. You know, I know people take that too serious when you say that, but I'm not saying he's as good as Floyd, but you know,
he's got real talent.
Yeah, he's got real talent. You know, he has a lot of rhythm. He can, adjust. Very, very talented fighter. But this is a huge step up in competition.
Huge.
I mean, he hasn't had anyone to really prepare for Nonito Donaire, but I go back to when Donaire was fighting against like the African Matabula.
Oh yeah, Matabula.
No, before he lost to Rigo and Walters. I'm going back to when he looked vulnerable even back then.
Right.
Fighting against Matabula, fighting against what's the Argentine fighter?
Navarez.
Fighting against Navarez. He looked very vulnerable in those fights. So this will be interesting because Jesse Magdaleno, he can box very well, has speed, has defense, has great foot movement. So it'll be really interesting to see how this fight plays out.
If he can take Nonito's punch, he'll win the fight.
Yeah. If he doesn't get hit with too many of those left hooks.
Right. The left hook.
Because you don't want to take too many of the punches, because no matter how good the chin is, you get hit with too many of them, you might be in some trouble. But just real quick, and I'm gonna let you guys close out real quick, and then Zhou Jiming, he's gonna open up the card.
Valdez.
Oscar Valdez against Asawa, Japan's Asawa. He's 30-3, so that should be pretty interesting. Oscar Valdez has been looking real good. Had a sensational knockout on Terrence Crawford's last undercard fight against Victor Postal.
Probably have another one.
Yeah. I mean, he's looking good, man. I like to see him in there with the top featherweights. Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell, maybe even move up and fight Lomachenko, So, real quick, you guys got anything else to say? We're down to about a minute, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, man, Donaire, he could hurt anybody with his left hook.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could hurt Walter and have him wobbling like that, you could knock out anybody. And as long as, he avoid the left hook by Donaire, he probably do well. But if Donaire is his former self from the past, if you bring that out, I see him taking it. So it's going to be a good fight.
Mm-hmm. Professor Nims?
Yeah. I want to say, I think you're right about that co-main event, man. I think that's one of those fights that you want to see, right? You got the old, somebody possibly a future Hall of Fame at one point was one that was top three, like pound for pound, going against a young, undefeated upstart who looks the part, right now, man. So that's one of those. I mean, those are the type of fights that we want to see.
Absolutely.
Not really like the main event, but I just want to say, Dante, I want to commend you. This is something that I just learned about recently about just kind of your stance in advocacy for the Black Lives Matter kind of moving in there. I want to get too political, but I know that was something, especially going against like a powerhouse like Mayweather. That's something that a lot of people really wouldn't do. And for you to kind of put your neck out there, I think that really says a lot about you.
Absolutely.
I just want to commend you on doing that.
Hey, I really appreciate it, and we'll talk more about that as well, too, because, when it comes to, racial injustices and racial inequality, I talk about that. I base my whole channel on talking about, everyone being treated fair. All boxers are created equal, and that wasn't a diss towards Floyd Mayweather, but if I disagree with something, I'm going to disagree with it no matter who it is, So it is what it is, and shouts out to my man Sean Zito, because he's the one that dropped that interview. He got that exclusive interview with Floyd Mayweather when he talked about that. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Once again, thanks to my boxing panel. We'll see you guys next week. As always, it's the Nation, baby.